There are two kinds of Gamescom years. Some show you worlds that never existed before. Others show you worlds you already know and set them down in front of you again. Bigger, brighter, lit differently. 2026 is very clearly the second kind. On stage in Cologne this week, we got a remaster, an enhanced update, a console version, and a return to Albion. And the two biggest open worlds everyone is waiting for? They weren't even there. Grand Theft Auto 6 ran somewhere else entirely at the same time. The Witcher 4 was deliberately left out. That sounds like a weak year. It isn't. Because in between all of that, 11 worlds turned up that you can actually walk into. A stretch of Riviera coastline from the team behind Forza Horizon 5. A Carpathian country in a plague year. A city where you swing between skyscrapers. And a desert planet that finally runs on consoles. Here they are. Smallest world first. Let's start with a game that lost its publisher and somehow still exists. Clutch is an open-world driving game set on the French Riviera, Monaco, coast roads, switchbacks. Behind it is Maverick Games, founded at the end of 2022, with Mike Brown among the founders, the creative director of Forza Horizon 5. The studio sits in Leamington Spa, a few minutes down the road from Playground Games. So this is, quite literally, the Horizon team building something of their own, next door. They announced it in May with a YouTube livestream, a 10-day countdown, with the camera parked the entire time inside a Fiat Multipla. For a studio currently promising the most detailed car interiors in the business, that's quite a choice. At that point, Clutch had no publisher. Amazon had walked away in February. The answer only came one day before opening night live. Focus Entertainment picked it up. Clutch arrives in spring 2027 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC.
I've tried to help you. I'm not going to jail for you.
Next up is the first big showing from a studio that didn't exist a few years ago. 1001 Threads of Mizan is an action-adventure set in the world of the Arabian Nights. And before you ask, no Aladdin, no Sinbad either. Instead, you get three new characters. Yusra, a relic hunter, Malik, a warrior, and Sufyan, a pirate. You travel by flying carpet across a handcrafted world, and you fight jinn big enough to block out the horizon. Up to 3 players can play together. Behind it is MBC Game Studio, funded by the Saudi media group MBC, and the credits list is worth reading. Creative director Lars Bonde, game director Scott Lucier, plus people from BioWare, Bungie, Ubisoft Montreal, and Hi-Rez. This is one of the first genuinely visible AAA productions to come out of Saudi funding, with a stated goal of putting Arabic culture on the global stage. Now, honestly, the trailer itself showed very little actual gameplay. What tells you more is the playable pre-alpha on the show floor in Cologne, with aerial combat and a boss fight against Najush. GamesBeat singled out the visual quality. There's no release date yet. Confirmed platforms are PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, and PC. And exactly how open that world is, MBC hasn't said. The Blood of Dawnwalker. This one comes out in a week. That's why it's also playable at Gamescom. The Blood of Dawnwalker is a dark fantasy role-playing game set in the Carpathians of the 14th century, in the middle of a plague year. You play Cohen, human by day, vampire by night. But the real hook isn't the vampire, it's the clock. There's a time counter in the game that doesn't tick on its own. It only moves forward when you finish quests, and once it's moved far enough, entire storylines and factions are closed off for that playthrough, permanently. Time becomes a resource you spend. That's a genuine design risk because it cuts directly against the instinct to see everything in a role-playing game. Rebel Wolves is a Warsaw studio, founded by people who worked on The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. The game director is Konrad Tomaszkiewicz, and he doesn't dodge The Witcher comparisons. He welcomes them. One detail from the Cologne demo: combat uses attacks and blocks in 4 directions. On higher difficulties, the on-screen prompts for that disappear entirely. At that point, you're reading animation and nothing else. Rebel Wolves has also hinted at a saga spanning centuries, with a later entry set in the 21st century and the same Cohen still in it. Each part is meant to stand on its own. It launches September 3rd, 2026 on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. Single player, Unreal Engine 5.
Whence came the first entanglement?
Now the one with the most unanswered questions and still one of the most striking moments of the show. Nodusfall comes from Hoyoverse, the studio behind Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero, and it looks like none of them. Instead of anime styling, it's realistic dark fantasy. Instead of Unity, it runs on Unreal Engine 5. For a studio with that particular signature, this is a sharp turn. The concept is multi-mythology co-op action. You play as weavers, you bring down colossal creatures together, and you harvest what the trailer calls divine skills from them. The trailer itself was titled, Wield Divinity, Sever the Dread Notice. Before the show, there was a leak going around describing it as Hoyoverse's Monster Hunter. Worth mentioning in passing because it's part of the picture. Publishers in China now come down considerably harder on leakers, up to and including prison sentences. And now, the honest part. Hoyoverse has not named platforms. Hoyoverse has not named a release window. There's a pre-registration page on the official site, and that's it. Whether this is one connected world or a set of separate hunting grounds hasn't been said. That's exactly where it gets decided whether this becomes a place or a sequence of arenas.
How can a few dying embers ignite the flames of rebellion?
This game was revealed at the same show 3 years ago. 2023, Gamescom, back then under the working title Project Mugen. In 2024, it got its real name. Ananta means endless in Sanskrit. And this year, back in Cologne, it finally got a date. Ananta is an urban open-world action game from Naked Rain, a studio based in Hangzhou with a second office in Montreal, published by NetEase. Online, it picked up a nickname you have to hear once, Anime GTA. You play as the captain, part of a collapsing peacekeeping agency called the ACD. It's set in Nova City and in a second city called Chongxiao, modeled on Shanghai, Hangzhou, and Tokyo. That city alone is supposed to hold over 100 characters with their own stories. The mix of mechanics is borrowed with remarkable openness. Swinging out of Spider-Man, driving out of GTA, drones out of Watch Dogs, brawling out of Yakuza. The trailer's tagline is, Go viral, save the world. The unusual detail here is the monetization. Ananta is free to play, but according to reports, character gacha was removed from the design years ago. What gets sold is cosmetics, vehicles, and furniture. For a game from this part of the market, that's a notable decision. Whether it holds up is another matter. One detail from the trailer that's easy to miss. The music is Meng Zong Ren, the track people know from Wong Kar-wai's film Chungking Express. For a game building entire districts out of Shanghai and Hong Kong, that's a very deliberate reference. The demand is clearly there, around 18 million pre-registrations. On PC, it needs roughly 250 gigabytes. Ananta launches January 15th, 2027 on PC, PlayStation 5, iOS, and Android.
What you seek is inside.
Tourist spy?
Only those who pass our trials may witness the Lingjing within.
Huh?
Can you take it?
You bet. I've dragged entire subway.
Okay then.
Do I remember the moment my powers came in?
Albion is back, for the first time in over a decade, and for the first time with public live gameplay. Fable is the revival of a brand Xbox left sitting for years. It's being made by Playground Games, the Forza Horizon people, a studio that knows how to build open worlds, but has never built a role-playing game before. That's exactly what makes this one interesting. At Gamescom, the first public live demo ran in the demo theater. Not at opening night live, but at the Xbox show on August 26th and 27th. And that demo came with numbers that tell you where the studio is putting its effort. Over 400 NPCs live in Bowerstone, all fully voiced, all with their own home, their own habits, their own personality. You can buy up to 130 houses and 30 businesses. The quest they showed is called Mud and Death, and it leads into a flooded mine. The setup for the story? The hero's home village, Briar Hill, has been turned to stone by a figure in a red cloak. And something comes back from the older games. The strength, skill, and will system is here again, reworked. Melee, magic, and range flowing into each other. The schedule history is still worth a mention. Fable was originally planned for 2025, then 2026. Now it's set for February 23rd, 2027. 2 delays before anybody outside the studio had played it. It's coming to Xbox Series X and S, PC via Steam and the Microsoft Store, and PlayStation 5. Day 1 on Game Pass.
Is me.
Let's stay with Playground Games for a moment, because the studio's other game was at the show as well. Forza Horizon 6 has been out since May 19th on Xbox Series X and S and PC. This time the world is Japan, with around 550 cars at launch, and Playground has been openly clear that accuracy wasn't the goal. They said the aim was never to recreate Japan's roads and spaces faithfully, but to capture the essence of the place in a smoother, condensed reality. That's a remarkably honest line from a studio that builds open worlds, and it describes fairly precisely what Horizon has always done. The Gamescom angle here is thin, and I'll say so. Forza Horizon 6 was up for 3 Gamescom awards, including Best Visuals. A PlayStation 5 version is still slated for this year, and there is still no date for it. Worth flagging, at the time of recording, the winners hadn't been announced. Now a case you rarely get to see this clearly. A studio publicly going back and fixing the weakest part of its own game. Crimson Desert is Pearl Abyss's big open-world action role-playing game. At Opening Night Live, they announced the enhanced update, and the patch itself went live the same evening. Version 2.0. What's in it is remarkably unglamorous, and that's exactly what makes it interesting. New cutscenes and additional dialogue meant to improve how the story flows. In the early hours especially, the protagonist Cliff now talks to himself a great deal more. Games Radar reports that fans describe it as feeling like a different game in places. On top of that, 5 new voiceover languages: Japanese, French, German, Spanish, and Brazilian Portuguese. Plus Arabic subtitles and menus. For existing owners, the update is free. And at the same time, Pearl Abyss ran the first discount in the game's history, 20%, running until September 9th. It's available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Steam, Epic, and Mac. A Switch 2 version is announced for early 2027. At the show, it was playable at the Pearl Abyss booth, and it's up for 2 Gamescom awards. Arrakis is coming to consoles, and in a version Funcom describes as substantially changed. Dune Awakening is an open-world survival MMO set on the desert planet, built in Unreal Engine 5. The premise is an alternate timeline in which Paul Atreides was never born. It's been on PC since June 10, 2025. On September 22, 2026, it arrives on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, where it lands in Game Pass on day 1. The console version went gold back at the start of August, but the real hook applies to every platform at once. On that same date, the game gets a genuine single-player mode. That was by far the most requested thing from the community for a game that launched as an MMO. Alongside it comes the complete Book 1, all 5 acts. In Cologne, Funcom showed 7 minutes of new gameplay, captured on a PlayStation 5 Pro. 2 graphics modes are confirmed: performance at dynamic 4K in 60 frames, quality at dynamic 4K in 30. Crossplay arrives after launch, not with it. The same day also brings a DLC called Filmic Archive, with outfits from the Denis Villeneuve films for $9.99. Second to last, and the biggest success story on this list, and the one people over here notice least. Where Winds Meet is a free-to-play wuxia role-playing game set in China during the Five Dynasties. Developed by Everstone Studio, published by NetEase. The world is enormous, densely populated, and, according to WCCF Tech, which scored it 8.5 out of 10 at launch, home to one of the most alive city environments in the genre. The number that came out at Gamescom is the actual story here. On August 26, NetEase put the game at over 100 million players worldwide. At the Xbox launch back in June, that figure was 80 million. Both numbers come with dates attached, because this kind of thing moves fast. The release history is scattered. PC and PlayStation 5 in November 2025, mobile in December, and on June 8th of this year, a shadow drop on Xbox Series X and S, including Game Pass. Crossplay and cross-progression run across all 4 platforms. According to the developer, there's no pay to win. On September 16th, the Hidden Mountain expansion adds a multi-layered vertical landscape. Height instead of surface area. At the show, it was in Hall 7 and it was playable.
I see a white wolf striving forward towards a solitary tower.
And then, right at the end of Opening Night Live, came the world that needs the least introduction on this channel. The Witcher 3 is getting a remaster, September 29th, 2026. And if you own the game, it's free. First, let's clear up 2 things that have been running through comment sections since Tuesday. 1. This is not an Unreal Engine 5 remake. It stays built on the original. A remaster, not a rebuild. 2. This was not The Witcher 4. The 4th game was deliberately absent from Gamescom entirely. CD Projekt confirmed beforehand that nothing would be shown. It's still targeting 2028, with over 500 developers on it, and Siri as the lead. Now the remaster itself. It's co-developed with Yigsoft, a Hungarian studio founded in 2021, which previously worked on The Witcher 3 Complete Edition and on Phantom Liberty. Level design lead Miles Toast presented it on stage. Technically, path tracing, global illumination, subsurface scattering, plus a reworked combat system, a rebuilt skill tree, transmog, new finishers, an expanded photo mode, and mod support across platforms. If you own the base game, you also get Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine thrown in. For context on why this is news at all, The Witcher 3 has sold over 65 million copies. The series as a whole, over 90 million. That's 11 years after release. And there's something genuinely new coming too. Songs of the Past, the 3rd expansion, arrives in 2027. It's paid, and it's being developed with Fool's Theory, a studio staffed with Witcher 3 veterans. It takes you to a new region called Letten, the homeland of Dandelion. It's described as an idyllic country with a dark secret, roughly comparable in size to Blood and Wine. Platforms: PC via GOG, Steam, Epic, and Battle.net, plus PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and a native Switch 2 version. If you own it on the original Switch, the Switch 2 version is free. 11 years, and the world gets new light one more time. That leaves the question of what wasn't there. Grand Theft Auto 6 was not on the Gamescom stage. Rockstar showed its material separately instead as an extended look via Netflix and its own channel on August 27th. The release date holds at November 19th, 2026. The Witcher 4 was missing too, and deliberately so. No stage time, no teaser, no gameplay. And the Gamescom awards themselves hadn't been handed out at the time of recording. Metro 2039 went in as the frontrunner with 5 nominations. Not an open world game, which is why it isn't on this list, but the number is worth mentioning. What's left is a pattern. This year, more large worlds were rebuilt than newly built. A remaster, an enhanced update, a console version, an expansion. So over to the comments. Which of these 11 worlds would you step into first? And is there an older world you'd want brought back the way The Witcher 3 just was? Let me know. Thanks for watching.